So recently I had a video where I was talking about doing maintenance on this boat and said that I hadn't checked the alignment of the drive in a long time, and I hadn't yet used this alignment bar for a while. Well, I happened to have the boat apart for other reasons, so it was a good time to get out the alignment bar and check alignment, and I'll show you how that goes. So as we start this job, the first thing we need to do is remove the Outdrive from the bell housing. And that's not such a big challenge, but we're going to pull that off. And so you need to raise it all the way up so that you can get the speedometer connection off. And that's the speedometer connection right there. Now a lot of times I can redo it without tipping it all the way up, but it is easier to get in here with it there. So you push that button, wiggle it, lift, and then it's off. That's where it goes. I'm going to lower the drive down so we can start taking it apart. So first thing is to get the trim cylinders loose. Pop these plastic caps off of here. And there are a couple of big E-rings here. Just want to pop off of there. And then underneath there's a washer. And then there's some bushings inside. And I got to be a little careful here because it's, as soon as you take those cylinders off, it's going to want to drop. So let's sit here, get a block under there. So I'm going to try to tap out this rod in the back. And get it. Until that one gets loose. And then there's two choices. One is to tap it back the other way, and the other is to pull it on through. Just put that up out of the way and keep going here. Okay, now I can lift the drive a little bit and work it out by hand the rest of the way. There we go. Get that one out. And put that back. Put a couple of pieces of light line on them to hold the cylinders up. I think it makes it a little easier when you're pulling the drive to have these things so they aren't banging around too much. So that kind of gets them up off the cavitation plate. So now we got 6 of these bolts to remove. Nuts, I should say. I got the nuts off the other side. I'm going to get this one on the bottom. I left this one intact for the moment. Let's get the bottom one off first, because it may want to shift a little bit, and I'd rather do that first. So let's. And 5 of these 6 have washers, and there's a 6th one down here that has a grounding plate underneath it instead of a washer that's screwed into the Outdrive. So. we ought to be able to get this guy out of here. There it goes. Get my hand in the right spot here. Actually, let's move my wood blocks back a little further. Here we go. Oh, and I did my maintenance by pumping grease in through the coupler. And I guess the good thing is that all that blue grease is on there. I'm going to set this drive aside. I decided that since I haven't had the drive out in a while and I haven't had my alignment bar out in a while, that maybe it was time to check it. And what you do is put the bar in through the gimbal housing, through the gimbal bearing, and you slide it all the way in like that. And it goes, it turns, it's not tight, but it's supposed to slide freely. And in fact, my new book says you should be able to do it with 2 fingers. And I'm not quite there. It's a little tighter. So as long as I've got the engine compartment halfway torn apart, I got the seat moved. I probably have to move the storage partitions. I'm going to see if I can tweak the adjustment on the engine mounts to get this lined up just a touch better. Alright, to adjust the mounts, well, the first thing was, this is an older boat, it's got plywood sections in here, and to be able to get to the bolts I had to get the plywood out of the way. I might have been able to do it without, but it's really tough reach. So these are the front mounts. You don't mess with the ones in the back. I originally thought perhaps, now there's a locking tab you have to bend out of the way for the bottom one, and you have to make sure you put it back. On my boat, these are 1 1/8 hex, and I backed the top bolt nut off as far as I could. Well, not as far as I could, but so I had daylight. You would think that gravity would make the engine settle, so you'd want to go up. So I started by cranking the mount upward. Take the nut, got an end wrench like this on it. Like so. And started by going counterclockwise and lifting. You can't get full turns or half turns or whatever with the tab and everything in the way. So I was doing flats. In other words, you got a hex, so you got 6, right? So you'd turn that nut 1 hex and a second hex, and each, you got 6 of them, so 3 bites on the nut, 3 short bites, where you can just get the wrench on the next flat, so you get 3 flats is a half a turn. So I started by 3 flats, half a turn up on both mounts. You got to do it equally, and that made it tighter. So gravity was affecting the boat somewhere else. Maybe the transom is settled and and this has stayed put. Don't know. But in any case, so then I took the 3 back out and did 3 more down, and that was a half a turn, and that made it better. So I went 3 more, which was a full turn down. That made it better yet. And then I went 3 more down, which was a turn and a half, and it seemed that it was getting tighter again. So I went back up to 3. So I'm I'm basically down a full turn on the nut from where it was from the factory. It's a fairly fine thread nut, so I didn't move the engine a long ways. But it's now better aligned, and I can slide that bar in and out with a thumb and 2 fingers. And it slides nice and easy, so I think I'm good. I say that's not a lot of adjustment to be out, but so now I will lock down the tab, and I'll tighten down these nuts, and I can go put the Outdrive back in. So I've made an adjustment to the front engine mounts, and I think I've got it now. 2 fingers and a thumb. Slides in and out. I can pull it back, slide it back in again. So that's it. And now that I got the alignment checked and got the front mounts adjusted, I can put the bar away, and I'm ready to get the drive and reassemble. Well, it's time to plug the stern drive unit back into the boat. I've got the engine alignment checked and corrected. I've got a couple strings here that I'm going to use to hold the cylinders up to get them. It still may not be perfect, but you got to be able to get them over the plates and aligned up. I still need to grease the studs with 2,4-C. I have already, this is the old one. You have a square cut O-ring that goes in this bore. I installed that a little while ago using some bellows adhesive on it so that it stays put. You don't have to glue it, but it's a risk, and I can tell you from a boat that I had many years ago, a dealer service department serviced my drive, and that gasket, that's this one, got out of position, and it fell down a little bit or something, and it got pinched. Normally you could tell, because when you go run the screws down, you know, things wouldn't go down properly by hand, right? But apparently they must have run them with an impact, and they just, you know, it drove the drive right through here and broke this. And so I had a water leak into the bellows and through the gimbal bearing and into the boat, and by the time we got done with it, it had ruined the U-joints and ruined the gimbal bearing. So make sure that goes in correctly. While I was at it, I also glued, there's a black O-ring that goes here around the water pickup tube. I used a little bellows adhesive on that too so that it doesn't want to fall out. And then Mercury makes this really cool little, I don't know, it's about a $3 tool that you use to hold this shift lever in place. They call it a shift stabilizer tool, and it's possible to install a drive without that tool. I've done it, but it's a royal pain. It's a whole lot easier having this, because this piece wants to rotate like that, and then you have a heck of a time getting it, you know, put back together. So this kind of keeps it stable so it stays put. You want the shift lever down here on the bottom to be straight fore and aft, and on a normal day this is set by setting the shift lever at the console in full wide open throttle forward. Currently I don't have the shift cable set up. It's not connected because I've been doing other work. So I'm just setting it in forward position, and I'll set the gear case in forward gear position. But if you don't, you won't be able to slide things together. There are 3 O-rings that go on the drive shaft that goes up in here on the drive unit. And so, you know, take the old ones off and put the matching new ones on. And of course the gasket here needs to go on. And it has a hole on one side that matches this lubrication port. Do this the right way. Put the gasket on first. Like so. Put my shift stabilizer back. So I'm going to get some fingerfuls of 2,4-C and lube up these studs. That helps keep them from corroding. And then I'm going to put these on the drive unit. The drive unit also needs to have a good coating of spline grease on the splines, and the shaft and the O-rings, everything should be lubricated well. I'll show you the O-ring since I still have to change them here. There's one here and there's two here, and the best way to do this, you can use a sharp tool to get them out if you want. You got to be careful with them, but just to help. I mean, basically what they do is try to prevent vibration from causing trouble. And you want to start with the one in the back, because you have to roll it all the way out to the front. And so that way it can roll over the other ones on its way out. And normally, if these were sealing water, I'd be very careful, doubly very careful with the sharp tools. But being as these are kind of like, I'm going to call them like vibration dampers, they keep the shaft from fretting and causing damage to the metal. Pick those guys out of there like so. So that's number one, that's the big one. Like so. So now this way we'll reverse course. And we'll get the next one. Can be a little bit of fun to get over. And they've got orange on them, but the orange starts wearing off right away. All right. Then I pulled this one off, and it took off half my grease, so I'm going to just smear some more of that back on there. I had just, before I pulled this apart, I had just lubed the coupler, and the grease is fresh. It's just been I decided to pull it apart after I finished my annual maintenance. Gotta feed that guy through the gimbal bearing first. Get the U-joints started. Got these up above the plates. The The shift mechanism is straightforward, and if it wasn't, you rotate the prop counterclockwise to help it line up. Now let's see here, come on. Alright, now I'm a little low. I was supposed to have two boards underneath, and one of them fell out, so let's lift this. There we go. My method when doing it alone is to try to use lumber to help align things. I'm actually a little high, although I'm going to tilt the drive a little, or the bell housing a little bit. There we go. Alright, okay, my shift thingy came out of off location. I bumped it too much, so let's fix that. I have to pull that back a little further because the shift cable isn't hooked up. So the tricky part right here is you got to get the splines to line up inside. So I'm going to take the I'm going to turn the propeller counterclockwise a little and see if, oop, I think that did it. There she goes. Didn't take much. I'm going to take that shift stabilizer tool off now. I think we're in enough. Just had to lift it in a different spot. Okay. Just going to use my handy dandy mirror to just double check the shift mechanism. I don't think it'll go together at all without it. Yeah, it's in. I can see it, it's in. Well, once you get to that point, then you can start putting the nuts and bolts together. And 5 of these get washers. And the 6th one does not, because it has a permanently attached grounding plate. All right. Well, we can run these down now. And there is about 1/8 of an inch or so space between, you can't pull it up quite all the way. There is some compression in that square cut O-ring, because it does have to seal, so you won't get it all the way up tight without the bolts. Just try to pull them up evenly and make sure that it looks like it compresses without excessive force on it. I'm not reefing on it, I'm just snugging them up. Back up to this one. Go ahead and torque these up. spec is 50. Put the lift cylinders on. That looks good. Gasket's pulled up tight. You want to kind of be careful not to scratch the paint and stuff, dropping the cylinders on the ventilation plate. I always try to be a little gentle. Sometimes I wrap rags around them, but usually that gets stuff more in the way. So now I can pick this up, take one board out. Alright, then to get the cylinders back together, you start sliding the shaft through, and then lift it up till it aligns. Come on. There it goes. And get that one started. Be careful you don't break the plastic bushing when you get to the other side. Just a little more. There we go. Alright, so then we go on with the washers, one on each side. These E-clips, snap one on each side. Plastic caps. Come on. That one goes. Alright, so she's together. And, oh, one more thing. The speedometer I can't reach it with the drive all the way down, I'll have to tip it up. There's a, when you take it apart, there's a quick connect for the speedometer hose that's around the front here. And so you need to reinstall that or the speedometer won't work. But now that I've got this installed, now that's how you reinstall the drive. Should be set to go. I still have some other work to do, as I mentioned. So I'm going to go back in and install the shift cable and adjust it. That's how you pull the drive, set the alignment, put her back. That's all for now.